In 2013, Microsoft and the Xbox team made one of the biggest fumbles in their history with the launch of the Xbox One. In the years to come, the team worked hard to turn the generation into one that people could be proud of. The PS4 really ran away with it this gen, but Xbox really did succeed in creating a great console to play great games. With that being said, let's talk about the best of the best. This list was compiled after plenty of time, energy, and thought and represents what I believe to be the very best that the Xbox One has to offer. This is not a comprehensive list of every amazing game for the system, there's way more than this, but only my personal favorites. So without further ado, here are my picks for the 25 best Xbox One games. For a game that looks like a retro children's cartoon, Cuphead is absolutely not for the faint of heart. It is absolutely hard as hell, but because of that, it's one of the most rewarding video games ever made. The charm of the aesthetic is just a cherry on top. Each and every boss is unique and powerful, and the weapon choices provide plenty of gameplay variety. For fans of action platformers, Cuphead is simply a must-play. I was raised on Guitar Hero and Rock Band. Because of that, Harmonix has always had a special place in my heart. However, I am not biased at all when I say that Fuser is another one of their all-time hits, and it's a criminally underrated game. The game puts you in the shoes, or more realistically, the hands of a DJ, mixing tunes and making sick beats. There's a great campaign that shows you the ropes, but also teaches you to appreciate what all makes up a song, from the drum accompaniment to the vocal mixing of any and every song. The music selection is superb, and there's plenty of content to keep you, wait for it, content. Anyway, for music lovers everywhere, I cannot recommend Fuser enough. I know this is kind of a cheat, but I don't care. The BioShock trilogy is a phenomenal package of games that completely changed the game at the time of their release. Now we have a complete version of these games at their absolute best. The first BioShock pioneered the modern horror FPS. The second refined the gameplay, and Infinite completely blew the others out of the water with superb gameplay, brilliant storytelling, and fantastic environments. With the collection, all of them are yours, and if you haven't picked this one up, you have no reason not to. While this may just be an expansion, it really could have been a whole game of its own. Right out of the gate, ICEBORNE makes it very clear that your hunter is not prepared for the journey ahead. With new, increasingly difficult monsters and the dangerous icy locale of Hoarfrost Reach, ICEBORNE feels like a meaningful addition to the main game that absolutely warrants its existence, rather than a cash grab from the devs. New mechanics like Clutch Claw make the expansion just that much sweeter, to the point that it makes the original game better, and that is why ICEBORNE is on this list and the main game is not. Pick them both up. This may be another cheat, but there's a reason this game keeps getting brought back into the conversation, and with that, modern platforms. Okami is one of the finest examples of video games being art, with graphics better than 99% of other games, not because of their fidelity, but because of the beautiful art style that this game conveys, now even better in HD. Combine that with fluid gameplay and a fantastic story, and Okami is an absolute classic. This HD version is just another excuse to play, and you should absolutely give it a chance if you haven't already. Unfortunately, Hades doesn't release on Xbox until August, but until then, the best roguelite on the platform is easily Dead Cells. The gameplay mechanics are rock solid, the variety is astounding, and the gameplay loop keeps you hooked from start to finish. In short, the real gem of this style is the developer's attention to detail. The game was in early access for over a year, and because of that, everything was fine-tuned, from the visual design to the audio mixing to the gameplay tweaks. Everything here has been essentially perfected in a way that makes it feel complete and comprehensive, something a lot of games don't necessarily always do nowadays. Watch when you start this game, because once you do, you won't be able to put it down. It's also currently available on Game Pass, so you can play it right now with your subscription. From Software really can do no wrong. Their newest game, Sekiro's Shadows Die Twice, is a shining example of this. First off, feudal Japan is an absolute joy to explore. We've traveled from desolated fantasy worlds to gothic horror environments, but to see this new kind of landscape was an absolute joy to play. Then, the combat is absolutely excellent. Improving on the tried and true Soulsborne formula, it adds to the challenge without becoming ridiculous. With the added verticality and stealth, the game still feels very much like a Souls game, yet an evolution of such. The pacing is also extremely well done, allowing for a much more cinematic feel, but without a claustrophobic cage of linearity. It's a beautiful, brutal game, and a damn near masterpiece. Each and every Forza Horizon entry continue to improve upon the last, and yes, that may have spoiled the later game on this list, but that's not to say that Forza Horizon 3 isn't an absolutely fantastic game. This was the first racing game I ever legitimately spent time with, and I loved every single second of it. It was easily the most beautiful game on the Xbox One at the time of its release, and it most definitely still holds up today. Driving around Australia and it is an absolute blast, from working your way through the campaign to just messing around in the huge open world. It was also the first to add full co-op to the game, so playing around with friends is an absolute blast. If you want a comfort game that has virtually no flaws, Horizon 3 is an easy pick. I remember the very first time I played Doom. I launched the game unaware of the kind of experience I was about to have. This game was easily the most adrenaline-fueled time of my life at the moment, and it remains some of the most fun I've ever had with a video game. It has some of the best FPS gameplay in any game, and features a fantastic campaign filled with great maps and a lengthy story. Even the multiplayer, while not necessarily going toe-to-toe with Call of Duty, still provides a great time just because of the rock-solid gameplay foundation the game provides. id Software took an old franchise and completely reinvented it, and I love to play it over and over again. This game is also available on Game Pass, so there's no reason not to play. I continue to feel bad for the Titanfall franchise because it really has had everything going against it, because the games, most of all the second, are absolutely fantastic. Titanfall 2 has the best shooter campaign I have ever played, period. The gameplay is absolutely superb as well, featuring fast-paced gameplay with great original mechanics to spice up a crowded FPS scene. Respawn also took everything they learned from the first to create a perfectly balanced multiplayer experience right from the start. If you enjoy shooters and haven't played Titanfall 2 yet, you're absolutely insane and you should jump in immediately. Plus, it's on Game Pass too, so please play this game. The Evil Within 2 is a criminally underrated game. I feel like it pretty much released under the radar, and it is absolutely shameful. It improved upon the original in every single way, from a fantastic story to a great combination of gameplay mechanics to anything and everything in between. The game also features a large variety of enemies, and when it comes to combat, the bosses especially bring the heat, and more importantly, the fun. At its core, The Evil Within 2 takes everything good about survival horror titles like Silent Hill and Resident Evil and combines them into one fantastical package. Insert Twin Peaks' phenomenal storytelling as a clear inspiration, and you've got a wonderful video game that should be played by all. And guess what? It's also on Game Pass. Dark Souls 3 is what I consider to be the most underrated From Software game. It takes what the studio learned from previous entries in the franchise and absolutely perfects them. I think the biggest thing against this game is that the formula began to feel stale to players, but this game is absolutely the best use of this formula. Any and everything in this game is lethal, and there's a greater speed to this game versus its predecessors, meaning you have to be much more on your toes than in past Souls games. Because of this, the game genuinely inspires dread. You can debate whether or not that's a good thing, but at the end of the day, the satisfaction given by making progress cannot be replicated anywhere else. If you're up to the challenge, it's absolutely one worth taking. Another Forza Horizon game on the list, 4 took everything great about 3 and turned it up to 11. It is an absolutely gorgeous game, still one of the best looking games ever made almost 3 years after its release. The biggest addition to the game is its seasons, which really does change the game. Each new time of year changes how the roads feel, meaning you have to change up your strategy. But it also opens up room to take in new beautifully created environments and fun to be had with different weather conditions. There's tons of content to delve into, whether you're a seasoned racing fan or an amateur driver. Also set to some fantastic soundtracks, it's a truly incredible experience and one that needs to be had by as many as possible. Plus it's on Game Pass, shouldn't be surprised about that. Ori and the Blind Forest completely blindsided Xbox players, pun unintended. In a dark era for Xbox fans, this indie game came out of nowhere and gave players a fantastic game with great platforming, stunning visuals, and a beautiful soundtrack. Developer Moon Studios created a near-perfect Metroidvania to rival the games that pioneered the genre themselves, and it is among the Xbox's greatest hits, indie or no. Definitely the least known game on this list. I truly hope this video can convince people to pick up this game, or at the very least look into it some more, because Superliminal deserves more love than it's got. It's difficult to describe this game because it's very surreal in nature. It's a puzzle game with clear inspirations from Portal and the Stanley Parable, and it requires you to be clever like its counterparts. Yet, throughout your playthrough, it constantly subverts your expectations and has something to say. I hope everyone watching will listen to it. Inside is not really a game to talk about, or watch, or really do anything but play. It's an experience that can only be had, which may seem like a negative aspect, but alas, those who play just can't say anything bad about it. As you play, you pay attention to the events going on around you, letting the curiosity consume you through the game's minimalist storytelling and simplistic gameplay. My ex-girlfriend, who was a very casual gamer, played this game, much to my surprise. I assumed she would become bored of it, yet she continued to talk to me about it years after she had played. That is the impact of this game, and you absolutely need to play it. There's not much to say about GTA 5 that hasn't been said a million times already. There's a reason it's about to be released on its third generation of consoles. It's one of the greatest open world games to ever be created. The story is absolutely mind-blowingly good, as well as dense in all the best ways. The gameplay is unmatched, combining excellent shooting with completely addictive open world fun. With one of the most popular online communities in all of gaming, this game cannot be missed, and if you have, you better get on fixing that. It's on Game Pass too, so there's really no excuse. Coming after GTA 5 is not the easy task, but Rockstar really said bet. Red Dead Redemption 2 takes everything great about their previous titles and creates an experience unlike anything I have ever played. The world is filled with random events and things to explore, whether that be from the story, or from an accidental illegal incident that causes a town-wide witch hunt, or a heinous KKK meeting that pretty much all of us disturbed. It's an absolutely wonderful experience that any fan of games should play. There's a reason that Dragon Quest is one of the longest running JRPG franchises in history. They're fantastic games, and 11S Definitive Edition is an absolute masterpiece. The world is absolutely glorious to explore, the characters are wonderful, and it's taken the tried and true formula to new heights. If you're into JRPGs, you absolutely have to play this game, and even if you aren't, you should at least give this wonderful game a shot. It's on Game Pass as well, so just boot it up once, for me. I talked up 2016's Doom earlier, but everything I had to say about that game pales in comparison to Eternal. It took everything they did 4 years prior and improved on every single facet, adding fun new mechanics, making the gameplay even more fluid, adding even more badass story content, plus a glorious variety of beautiful landscapes to tear up. They also really ramped up the difficulty here, making you feel like the ultimate demon slayer with every victory. There really is no word to describe this game other than pure, unadulterated badassery. And, you guessed it, it's on Game Pass too. Like a Dragon was a huge gamble for Sega. To take one of their most popular franchises and completely change genres for the next installment, it almost sounds insane. But they pulled it off, and gloriously so. It takes everything great about Yakuza, the wacky yet depthful story, great graphics, and fun minigames, yet establishes a new, well-thought-out turn-based combat system, and it fits extremely well. I really hope we get to see more of this soon, because I'm completely in love with it, and you should be too. It also just came to Game Pass. Hell yeah. If Ori and the Blind Forest completely blindsided us, Ori and the Will of the Wisps still blew us away, even when we were expecting it to. To start, it took a beautiful game and made it even more glorious, to the point that it may go down as one of the most beautiful art forms to ever grace a television screen. Then of course, the soundtrack does not disappoint, delivering some of the most serene as well as profound pieces of music to ever be heard in gaming. But the world is the true star, featuring a huge map with tons of skills to unlock. It is truly an evolution of the previous game in every sense of the word, and a masterclass of platforming RPGs. Game Pass? Yep. It's not very often that games like NieR Automata came around. It features an absolutely jaw-dropping story, worth every second of your time, including some truly powerful stances on artificial intelligence that will stick with you long after your playthrough. The variety of gameplay is astounding, as well as the artistic direction the game provides throughout. The music too just provides that much more of a fantastic experience to this masterpiece. NieR Automata is easily one of the best games of this generation, and the Become of Gods edition is the definitive way to play. And yes, it's on Game Pass too. I've talked about Resident Evil 2 extensively on this channel. It was number 9 on my top 25 modern PC games list. I played through it on stream to get ready for Resident Evil Village, and I'm absolutely obsessed with this game. To be frank, it's perfect. I hope and pray every day that more developers take older games and remake them with the passion and drive and quality that Capcom has done with Resident Evil 2. The gameplay is superb, the characters are fleshed out, and the horror is truly horrifying, not through cheap jump scares, but through genuinely scary gameplay scenarios throughout. It's also one of the best looking games on the system, and I seriously cannot praise it enough. Please, please play this game. Anyone who knows me should see this as no surprise. The Witcher 3 is the best game ever made, hands down, no and ifs or buts about it. It's still stunning to look at, especially on the One X. The gameplay is superb, the relationships are vast and engrossing, and the RPG mechanics are as dense as they are compelling to complete. From a small PC developer to one of the most well-known devs in the world, CD Projekt Red has come so far since 2007 and the first Witcher. While their work is continuing, as it should, I will always consider Wild Hunt to be their crowning achievement, and that is why it is the best game on the Xbox One. Thank you guys for watching, I really appreciate it. Like if you like this video, subscribe if you want to see more. Let me know what you thought of my picks down in the comments below, and I will see you guys next time for whatever it is I'm doing. Alright, see ya.